with the financial statements of Cebu Consultancy. So somehow this afternoon, let's go through your activity, your submitted activities. So at first, let's go first to the worksheet that you submitted, and somehow randomly we will look into your output and critique on it. Okay. Okay, is this the run around? Is the run? Are you around, Jamaica? Okay, sige. Okay, so let's kuan lang, no? Roughly, we will kuan. Okay, so you have your heading. So that's correct. Cebu Consultancy worksheet for the year ended and then 2013 and 2016. Okay, so let's go to your activity. So what is lacking here? Okay, so outright comment na to ani is that we only use peso sign or dollar sign in our trial balance and then the financial statements. So in the worksheet, in the journal, in the ledger, and then in the worksheet, we don't have to put a peso sign or dollar sign. Again, so we only use peso sign or dollar sign or any currency for that matter in a trial balance and financial statements, na formal financial statements. So in this case, we need to remove the peso sign. Okay, so that's kuan. Outright na to. Then correct, so you have these numbers, and then let's go to adjustments. So looking into your adjustment, somehow you take the annual. Again, what is lacking here is you lack the atong mga legend, letter A, letter B, letter C. So that is very important because later on, when we look into our worksheet, that will tell us what's that adjustment all about. So what is the partner of this adjustment, no? So muna siya, kailangan natin itong letter A, letter B, and letter C. But somehow, you have the correct numbers. Okay, so you have the correct numbers. So let's go to your adjusted trial balance. And then let's go to your income statement. So that's correct, 6,005. And then looking into your statement of owner's equity, at this point, the adjusted, the ending ko owner's equity is 340,300. And then you forwarded that to your balance sheet, so 340,300. So that's correct. So from here, let's go to, so this is Jamaica. Let's go to activity 13. So income statement. Okay, so that's correct. Okay, very good. Very good presentation. Okay. The same number, 6,005. So that's your income statement. So let's go to owner's equity. Okay, that's correct, no? You have your 345 plus 65 and less drawings, so 340, 300. So that's correct. And then let's go to balance sheet. Okay. You have your assets. For 08, 300. Okay, so that's very good, no? For 08, 300. That's correct. Okay, so at this point, any clarifications for others? Any clarification, people? We can proceed to our next topic. So somehow, if in the way I check, no, the way I will be checking your activity, I will give points to proper heading, proper placement of the peso sign, and then I'm seeing underline, single line, underline, a double rule, double underline, then peso sign. So I will be looking into that when I grade your activity. So somehow, if it lacks all this kanang required na information, you can resubmit your activity. Okay? So, at this point, if there is no question at this point, we will proceed to another topic na to of within chapter 4. Okay. So we are done with this, no? Preparing the different financial statements, and then the so meaning after the preparation of the worksheet, still we have to prepare the adjusting entries and then post it to our ledger. So that completes the activity. Now, with that, let's go to another topic, which is closing the books. Now, normally, if you look at the schematic diagram, we just done with the financial statement preparation, so that the last topic that we need to complete is the closing entries and the preparation of the post-closing trial balance. So normally, the closing and post-closing trial balance are prepared normally at the end of the accounting period. So if your accounting period ends in December, so by the time you are done, really, no, manakasatanang yung activities sa nalimpyuhan na nimo ang libro, corrections, tanan, nahimo na, then that's the time nga imo na siyang i-close ang libro and then prepare the post-closing trial balance. So, here, at the end of the accounting period, the company makes the accounts ready for the next period. So this is where we make ready for the accounting period comes January. Now, there are two things that we have to consider here. We must be able to identify what are temporary accounts and what are permanent accounts. Now, let's go first to permanent accounts. So, these accounts are not closed. So, meaning, when we do our closing entries, the accounts that are classified as permanent, dili na to siya i-close. So, these are Unsa man siya nga mga accounts? These are all asset accounts, liability, and owner's capital accounts. So basically, these are the accounts that you will find in the balance sheet. Now, so permanent, so dili nato na siya dili nato i-close. On the other hand, for atong gi-consider nato nga temporary, so these are the accounts that will be closed. So these are all revenue accounts, expense account, and owner's drawing account. So basically, these are the accounts that you will find in your income statement, your revenue and expenses, and then the owner's drawing account. So mo na siya atong i-close. So to as our guide somehow, we can always go back to our worksheet unsa na nga mga accounts nga atong dapat i-close. So katong naa belong sa income statement mo to i-close plus the owner's equity account. Then katong mga account na naa sa balance sheet mo to dili na to i-close. So somehow we are now aware of what are revenue accounts, what are expense account, what are assets, liability, and owner's capital account. So closing entries formally recognize in the ledger the transfer of net income or loss to owner's capital. Diba at the end of the period, diba we'll learn nga whatever income or loss generated during the period, ultimately this will be closed to the capital account of the owner. So this is now the process of transferring to or closing, muna siya gito nato no closing the profit or loss of the business to the capital account of the company. And then owner's drawing to owner's capital. Let us understand nga ang drawing, meaning nag-withdraw siya o si attorney nag-withdraw siya 3,000 worth of capital, no? Na siya drawing nga 3,000. So that should be deducted from his capital. Kaya somehow nag-withdraw man siya og 3,000 worth. So dapat at the end of the period makapaan tong iyang capital. Now, it produce a zero balance in each temporary account. So, companies generally journalize and post closing entries only at end of the annual accounting period. So, meaning December. So, depende na siya no kung so yahang ending accounting month niya. Now, balikan nato itong produce a zero balance. Since we close all the accounts, the revenue in the expense account. So after the closing, all the accounts atong revenue and expenses will result to zero balance. Kay nganong mag-zero balance naman kay ang atong tanang revenue i-transfer man nato sa atong profit and loss, and then ang atong income i-transfer nato sa atong profit and loss through the process of closing entries. Mo na siya din na ang atong gamiton, mo na ang atong himuon. Now, never mind the drawing. So, let us just go to the 1, 2, 3, 4 na paanya, no? Sequence niya of closing. So, number 1 is we close the revenues to income summary. So, there will always be 4. So, number 1 na itong i-close are the revenue accounts. Second is not only close are the expense accounts. And then the third one, whatever income or loss atong i-close sa income summary account. So meaning to say na atay, if you look at here, if you look at here, no, so you have an income summary account na ledger. If you will notice nga to sa katong atong attorney na atay gi-open nga paano income summary account tayo po aniya kanang ledger. So what we will do is in number 1, i-close nato siya sa income summary. Number 2, i-close nato siya sa income summary. And then ang income summary account, whatever difference, ato siyang i-close nato sa owner's capital account. And then number 4, i-close na to ang owner's drawing to capital account. So, in this case here, gamito na to ang katong kaning illustration sa kaning pioneer maning activity, trial balance. So if you look at the trial balance of Pioneer, worksheet of Pioneer, I mean, okay. So if you look at this is the worksheet of Pioneer. So what we will do is coming from here, so these are the accounts na atong i-close. Number 1, i-close na to ang service revenue, and then number 2 nga kuan niya, i-close na to ang expense accounts. And then the next one will be i-close na to ang yung drawing account, which is 500. So kung sa nga page niyo makita ron? Hello? Kung sa nga page? I just want to check if the PowerPoint is moving. Okay, good. So here, so this is now our closing entry. So here, this is our entry number 1. Take note of the dates. It will always be kanang end of the month, end of the period na siya. So here, since we will close the temporary accounts by way of closing, ato yung i-reverse ang entry. Like for example, ang service revenue, ang kanang account niya is a credit account. So what we will do is i-debit credit nato siya, debit nato, then we put in our reference number o maniyang account code, and then we credit that to income summary account. So which is 10,000. This one, credit nato siya 10,006. So we're done sa entry number 1. Entry number 2 is we will also close our expense accounts. So considering expense accounts are debit, we will just credit all this account. Ano siya tanano, ato na siyang i-credit, ang tagsa, and then whatever total, that will be our income summary account. The same account na siya, the same account na title atong gigamit, income summary account. So that's number 2, entry number 2. Then entry number 3 will be I will go to okay. So what happened is that in our entry number 1 nato, we debit service revenue and then we credit income summary. So that's close revenue to income summary. And then entry number 2, we close all our expenses to income summary so that we credit all the expenses and we debit that to income summary. Now, 10,006 minus 7,740, what's the difference? Paki-compute, 10,006 minus 7,740. Just to check. Somebody compute, please. Hello? Somebody computing?
Sakto.
Pila? Pila difference? No, 860, no? So somehow, this is the same amount that we were able to compute. So when we compute the income statement, it is resulting to a profit of 2,860. Now, with this entry, our entry number, so this is our entry number 3, and this is the debit kaya, this is the credit ni ko niya. Close, so di ba ko ano siya, di ba ang 10,600 minus 7,740. Considering this is revenue and this is expense, so it results to profit of 2,860. So again, this is a profit, so this we are going to transfer to owner's equity. So this will increase the owner's equity account. Assuming lang ha, assuming kung alis siya, assuming bali ni siya, no? Assuming this is 10,600, unya ang iyang expenses niya is assuming is 11,000. So what will happen is that it will result to a 400 na loss. So this is loss. Kay mas dako man ang iyang expenses kaysa iyang revenue. So what will happen is that, considering this is credit, so ang debit ana niya will be 400 to owner's equity. So ingon ana, no? So with that, i-debit ni mo owner's equity, nganong i-debit mo nato because it's a loss. So this entry will somehow reduce the owner's equity na portion. So yun ana ang iyang indication. So with this process, with these closing entries, we somehow transfer all the balances of our revenue and expenses and determine how much is the income and transfer that in activity 3, I mean in entry number 3, transfer the balance or the result to owner's equity account. So that's the essence of this number 3 na entry. We somehow, di ba, we debit income summary and then we credit to capital. Again, kung loss pa ni siya, we debit we debit owner's capital and then we credit owner's we debit owner's capital and then we credit income summary account. So that's number 3. To close net income to capital or to close net loss to capital. And then sa entry number 4, we debit owner's capital and then we credit. Di ba ang owner's drawing is paskuan man na siya kanang debit entry. So i-close na nato na siya, i-debit nato owner's capital and then we credit owner's drawing. Now, please notice na ato pa ni siyang i-post sa general ledger. So with that, after the posting of your closing entries, all your temporary accounts will become zero. So maura na siya ang kuan nato no sa atong closing entries. So after that, so this is now the closing entries nato when we post that to the general ledger. So after that, what we will do now is prepare the post-closing trial balance. Now, considering all our temporary accounts will become zero, so what will remain are the accounts that you have in the balance sheet accounts, permanent accounts. So if you will notice here, so you have cash, accounts receivable, supplies, private insurance, wala na kayo makita din nga revenue and expenses and drawing. Ang makita na lang nato the capital account, no, owner's capital, and then all the liabilities, and then all the asset accounts. So that completes the cycle. Ready na dayo ni siya comes October man ni siya nag-end, no? Comes November, so that again is the beginning of another accounting period. So wala po na siya, sugod na po dahil na siya o sugod na po dahil na siya o tigom sa iyang expenses. Then your assets, definitely kapaluman tanong kan mga balance sheet account, these are the picture or the snapshot of the accounts for the moment as of the given date. Okay, so that completes our activity. Now, let us review the accounting cycle. We have analyzed business transaction, then we journalize the transaction, then post to the ledger accounts. We're done with that. Prepare a trial balance, and then journalize and post adjusting entries. The number 6, prepare and adjust the trial balance. There is a 5, diri natin yun nato, no? Instead nga i-journalize nato diretso and post it to the ledger, instead we prepare the worksheet opening 5 and 6, no? There is a 5, kumbaga the 5 and 6 will come after the preparation of the financial statements, just so to facilitate preparation. But niyon man nga the worksheet preparation is an optional activity. So the normal process will go through 5, we journalize and post adjusting entries, and then prepare and adjust your trial balance, prepare financial statements, journalize and post closing entries, then prepare a post-closing trial balance. So nakompleto na ang atong accounting cycle. You can have here, you can always go back here sa kanang iyang mga process. Now, adjusting entries is different from correcting. Kaya may adjusting, these are necessary adjustments to bring up to date your balances. Kaya naakay ka itong mga prepayments, accruals, so these are adjusting. However, there are correcting entries. So these are correcting entries kuno are unavoidable step. This is unnecessary if accounting records are free of errors. Made whenever an error is discovered, must be posted. Mali siya itong dumduman, must be posted before closing entries. So meaning, before ta mag-closing entries, tanan dapat nga mga sayop dapat makita na analyze na reconcile na tanang accounts para when we prepare the closing entries, kompleto na siya. Dahil once maka-close na ka, it's a long process, no? It's a long process na siya. It will be tedious kaayo. Just imagine sa kadaghan na imong talikan, no? Talikan ng mga activities. So ingon na. So these are different different scenarios in preparing a correcting entry. Like for example, ninyo siya. On May 10, Mercato journalized and posted 50 cash collection on account from a customer as a debit of cash and a credit to service revenue. In this case, double na ni siya, no? So that dapat ang iya untang ang iyang gihimo nga entry first is the debit check cash niya na credit check service revenue, which should not be. The entry should be debit of cash and accounts receivable. So dapat mo na ang correct entry niya. So to correct the entry is iyan na lang i-debit ang service revenue kay mo man siya ang mali, no? Service revenue and then debit credit accounts receivable. So dili na siya pwede po na siya katong imong i-reverse ang incorrect na entry and do the correcting entry. But if you look at that, dapat nakabook imong entries na himuon. So to somehow to shorten, imo na lang himo a correcting entry. So yun ana lang. Inaana lang iyang kuan. Now, at this point, I would like to introduce you to the preparation of a classified balance sheet. Somehow you are already introduced. I mean, when you prepare your activity 1, somehow you were introduced already. You have already the picture. I'm not sure if you can still recall your activity number 1, of which you were asked to to research on kung ano, different financial statements of your chosen company. So when we say classified balance sheet, somehow we classify all our accounts as to this kung ano, different classification mo na siyang classified. Our assets are classified into assets na to are classified as to current assets, long-term investments, property, plant, and equipment, and intangible assets. And then liabilities and owner's equity, these are also classified as to current liabilities, long-term liabilities, and owner's stockholders' equity. So somehow, instead na ito rin siyang ilista. So this is the example. So you have here assets, and then you have under current assets, so you have cash. So the challenge ninyo karon is to identify kung saan siya asa na to i-belong ang cash kani nga mga account, no? But somehow it's just familiarization of what are accounts that should belong to current assets, to long-term investments, property, plant, and equipment, and then intangible assets. So take a look at the presentation. So maghihapon na, no? So ato siyang so na siya if this is our total, depende ni siya sa ato ang presentation. So different books may have different presentation. But what is important is there is proper kung ano indention of classification. So like here, we have the current assets. So you have cash, debt investments, account receivable, notes receivable, inventory, supplies, and prepaid insurance. And then total, so ato siyang i-extend here, total current assets. Then after sa current assets, nakalinya po na siya din ha, long-term investments, niya, i-indent siya gamay, stock investment, investment in real properties, niya total. Niya property, plant, and equipment, these are land, equipment, and then less accumulated depreciation. And then, what we do here, instead na may the equipment, less accumulated depreciation, building, less accumulated depreciation, what we will do here is, we will just put in here land, the total acquisition, the historical cost, equipment, historical cost, or naakay building, historical cost, and then less accumulated depreciation, total na siya noon, and then there will be a support na niya, there's a schedule that detail the breakdown kung asa na siya gikan, how much is the building, how much is the equipment, and so on. So that's how we present. And then intangible assets, and then you have your total assets, dollar sign, then double rule. So that brings you your total assets. So next are current liabilities, notes payable, accounts payable, and so on. No? So you just familiarize this one. So I would like to go back here. Why is it that accounts receivable is listed ahead of inventory? It's because we present here in the order of liquidity. So later on ato nang what's the definition of liquidity. Now, accounts receivable is listed ahead of inventory because ang atong inventory still have to sell the inventory, aya pa nimo na siya ma-collect ang mahimo nga accounts receivable. So your asset nga inventory will take a longer period of time to convert that to cash. So that's precisely the reason ano nga gilis na to ang inventory mas ahead ang atong AR compared to inventory. Of course, prepaid insurance, pinakaulahin na siya by these are just expenses waited to be kung ano pa ng expense later on once na mo lapse na ang iyang schedule. So there's no way na ato na siya ma-convert into cash, or maybe if there is an insurance, pwede nimo siyang i-terminate, pero if ever imo na siyang i-terminate, di na nimo na makuha the whole value. So I think that's the kuan yan. So again, what we will do is familiarize na gyud ta look into references, unsay mas una, unsay pinakaulahi. Okay. So same with assets, there's also current liabilities. So these are notes payable, accounts payable, unearned service revenues, others payable, interest payable in long-term and honors equity. So that's how we do the po ano. And then again, gihapon at the end, you have your double rule. So let's look into what are current assets. So current assets, these are assets that a company expects to convert to cash or use up within 1 year. So, muna siyang gitawag siya o current kay magamit nato that's within 1 year or the operating cycle, whichever is longer. Now, when we say operating cycle, it's the average time that it takes to purchase inventory, sell it on account, and collect cash from customers. So, meaning, purchase inventory, by the time ang imong operating cycle, by the time imo na siyang gipalit until ma-turn into cash. So that's the operating cycle, the normal operating cycle. But normally, 1 year or whichever is longer. So here, you have here cash, short-term investment, inventories, and then these are accounts. Accounts are usually listed in order in which we expect to convert them into cash. So that's the term na in order of liquidities. Investments. So long-term investments, these are investment in stocks and bonds of other companies. Investment in long-term assets such as land or buildings that are not currently being used in operating activities. So kining number 2 here, naghimo siya land. Kung kalainan na siya sa land na sa PPE, katong ibutang nato sa property plant and equipment. Ang ato lang yung ibutang dito sa property plant and equipment, these are land and building or equipment na gigamit it siya sa operation. Else, ipalit ka land for investment purposes or ipalit ka building for investment purposes. So, dili dapat ang iyang classification. So, these are long-term notes receivable, these are collectible beyond 1 year. Long-term investment. The PPE, these are long useful lives, currently used in operation. That's important na includes land, buildings, machinery, equipment, depreciation. So we depreciate, and then the equivalent NPV of that will be the accumulated depreciation. So this is how we present. You have machinery, tooling. These are so ang atong gibutang diri, these are all costs. The historical cost, and then after which you deduct the accumulated depreciation. This is the total. But again, if you want to know the details of this, na siya detailed na schedule. Long-lived assets that do not have intangible assets. So these are long-lived assets that do not have physical substance. So example, copyrights, patents, franchise, trademarks, siyang gikondirin of goodwill. So this has no physical value, physical appearance. These are intangibles. We will learn much about this pag ato na nato sa financial accounting. And then current liabilities, these are obligations. Company is to pay within the coming year, or its operating cycle, whichever is longer. So here, this is importante kayo siya nga ma-identify nato ang current liabilities because when we have current assets, we also need to identify our current liabilities. So this will be measured the liquidity of the business. Kung if there is enough current assets to pay your current obligation. So maana siyang importante nga ma-identify na siya. Usually list was payable. Then common examples are AP, salaries and wages payable, notes payable, interest payable, income taxes payable, and current maturities of long-term obligations. So that's the typical example. And then obligations, long-term liabilities, obligation a company expects to pay after 1 year. So these are the bonds payable, notes payable, and so on. Owner's equity, so we have 3 business forms. kung may proprietorship, so this is owned by one capital account, just like atong mga example nato karon, no? And there is partnership and there is corporation. Okay, so with that, we are done with chapter 4. So at this point, I would like to post an activity. Wala na question. So mag-post ko activity ko activity 14 and 15. What you will do is and then now prepare, post, closing entries, no? Using Cebu Consultancy nga worksheet, kasama to activity 12-13, so hinuan ninyo to o closing entries. So ako ni siya nipasat ni 3 today. Tama, 1. So, sabit na ko ni siya 3:30 p.m. Something, no? And then, that's activity 14. And then activity 15, post, prepare, post closing, file balance of Cebu Consultancy. Karon gihapon ni naa naman tanan ng worksheet, so dali na ninyo mahimo. 3:30 gihapon. Okay, so that's it. Question, people? Okay. Wala na. So, let's meet again. 3:30. Let's look into your activity. Okay? So, I'll go offline. Wala na question? Kung wala na, I'll go offline.